I'm sitting here being a good little YouTuber trying to come up with something to say about the first Telltale Batman game. Maybe there's a certain character I can talk about, or some theme to break down. But then it hit me. I feel very differently about this game than I used to. I haven't played it in a handful of years. Revisiting it didn't feel exactly how I expected it to. To be honest, there were certain parts I no longer liked. I was a big Telltale guy in college. Legends will be told about my coolness. This game, The Wolf Among Us, and the sequel were my little obsession for a hot minute. So this has always had a special place in my heart. But those rose-colored glasses shattered today, and I saw this game for what it was. A glitch-filled playable movie that relied too much on well-trodden Batman tales. So, why do I still love it? I almost gave up on the game before I got to the end of episode 1. I was so not engaged in the story. Immediate side tangent, I don't think time has been particularly kind to this game. As graphics evolve and people remain obsessed with how good fake things look, the game performs worse by the day. And the fact that the Batman swooped in and stole the major unique plot point from this game, and then arguably did it more meaningfully, doesn't help. But the game doesn't do itself any favors either. It steals and relies so much on the Nolan trilogy and other popular stories to form its world, which is why the first episode was such a drag. If the entire series was just like episode 1, I'd be singing a different tune. However, in retrospect, this is the mundane setup that needs to occur to reveal just how different this world can be. Harvey and Selina, sexy penguin, Vicky Arkham, bad daddy, clean-shaven Alfred, John Doe. The game does a great job slowly peeling back a Gotham and a Batman that we've never seen before. There's something mesmerizing about that when it's done well, and despite all the flaws I mentioned, the boredom I felt in episode 1, I gotta say, this was done well. But enough ass-kissing. I'm here to take you on a journey. So let's go someplace we've never been before, all the way to episode 2! This episode is the worst of the bunch. Things are actually pretty familiar here. We get a good old-fashioned Wayne murder, this time in the style of an assassination with the added symbolism of movie tickets. A lot of this episode is just more of what we've seen before, but this is also where the foundations for character relationships are laid. Bruce Wayne meets Selina Kyle, and they both learn the other's secret identity, like right away, automatically creating a conflict with Harvey, cause dat cat too sexy. There's a bit more Gordon, and there's a lot more of Bruce and Alfred. What an interesting dynamic for these two. I love how this game doesn't just let Alfred off the hook. He's directly implicated in Thomas Wayne's crimes, and he feels rightfully remorseful. It's logical that Bruce could feel many ways about this, which makes controlling their interactions feel meaningful. So, this episode features a lot of groundwork being laid that will organically evolve throughout the rest of the story. Unfortunately, it's packaged around some mostly boring scenes. Falcone tries to get me to jerk him off, and I gotta spend time alone with the gooberest version of Montoya to ever exist. No thank you. The episode only gets great at the end when it has you make a choice. Harvey or Selina. The moment every player knew was coming, the creation of Two-Face, came as early as episode 2. Whether you actually wanted to save Selina or not, I know most of you motherfuckers chose her just to see Harvey get split. We're a bunch of disgusting sickos. In the moment, this choice feels exhilarating. It feels like you really shaped a cornerstone of Batman's mythology. Except when you realize that your decision ultimately didn't matter. Either way, Harvey becomes Two-Face, even if he's only got one face. Even though you don't know it at the end of episode 2, it becomes more apparent as every episode passes that maybe, just maybe, everything's kind of happening to you and you don't have as much say as you thought. And that's another aspect that was holding me back from immediately loving this game as I replayed it. I already knew that it was more or less all an act. I knew in that moment that the choice between Selina and Harvey didn't actually matter. Things with Harvey will end in the manner either way. That lack of choice may appeal to the more philosophically minded among us, but to me, it feels like a major limitation. Later on, even when given the simplest choice by the game, hide from Harvey or reveal yourself to him, the game doesn't actually give you a choice at all. Either way, you're immediately revealed to Harvey. The game seriously couldn't have a tiny diverging path to try and trick the player. At the very least, if you chose hide, Bruce should be able to hear just 3 lines of additional dialogue before the fucking cat ruins everything. At least that provides some superficial difference. Luckily, this forced reveal no matter your choice is the worst the game gets. But because of how in-your-face Telltale was about the game adapting to your decisions, this is a point I just couldn't ignore. That press circle to bang scene brings me to episode 3. This is the first episode that I felt had a truly unique and inspired narrative. Some scenes fall flat, but most are important, and that sense of importance ratchets up effectively. Bruce spends most of his time in Gotham. Alfred and the Manor are barely in this episode. This is the first time we get to see this version of Batman really out in the field, actively working toward a significant goal. Before now, it's just been quick missions or climactic assaults. This is different. It's an endurance test through multiple new locations, challenging both sides of Mr. Wayne. Vicky Vale, Regina What's-Her-Face, and Penguin have much larger roles. The corporate fall of Bruce is paired with the reputational rise of the Children of Arkham. Like it or not, this is some never-before-seen kind of stuff, and I respect the hell out of it. The Telltale series excels at putting Bruce Wayne as front and center as Batman, and that shines through in this episode. The choices of both personas continuously impact the other in a vicious cycle. Is Harvey scarred from Batman's decision? And how does Bruce Wayne handle his mental state? Does Bruce assault Oswald Cobblepot because of Batman's secret knowledge, or does he play it cool? As a result of nighttime adventuring as Batman, does Bruce Wayne sleep with Selina or take a cold shower? Player decisions may not have the impact that I'd like, but I can't deny that the narrative decisions, putting the main character into this complex web of interconnected relationships, were brilliant moves that crescendoed into the best cliffhanger ending of the season: the reveal of Lady Arkham and the drugging of Bruce Wayne. And that takes me into episode 4. By far and away, the best this game had to offer. Of course, this episode kicks off with the introduction of John Doe. And I won't be talking about him at all. There's so much to say about this character, but that should be saved for a Season 2 video. Comment below if you'd like to see that. But for now, we've got a much more unexpected matchup of villains to discuss. Boiling to the surface through each episode has been the Children of Arkham. So it's only fitting that after coming face to face with their leader, Bruce Wayne is cast into the institution whose name they bear. Batman fans know Arkham, especially those playing a Batman video game in the mid-2010s. But never before has it been represented in a game like this. Its One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest vibes allows for a more mundane terror to creep under the player's skin. This trip to the madhouse hammers home that the anger the Children of Arkham feel is justified. However, by this point in the story, all the men responsible for the abuse their families suffered have been taken care of. Their search for justice bends into an insatiable quest for revenge. Their continued targeting of Bruce Wayne is the perfect example. And I think that is an inspired idea. Stories about Batman's early years feature politics pretty frequently, but often shallowly. Corruption is about as far as things really go. But here, the Children of Arkham are framed as a genuine political movement. Their revolution, as the Penguin put it, brings to mind the French Revolution's Reign of Terror, a political cause sparked by righteousness that spiraled into bloody monstrosities at the whims of unhinged leadership. Harvey Dent represents the other side of the coin, a steadfast dedication to the established rule of law. He begins his journey as a fresh-faced, if naive, district attorney, wanting to right the wrongs of previous generations through legitimate means. Although I do think his previous cavortions with Falcone undercuts that summation. I'm unclear why the story made the choice to dirty Harvey with this connection, since the collapse of Falcone's operations and his subsequent assassination have no real impact on him. In fact, they serve more to upset Bruce Wayne's world. Perhaps Harvey's relationship with Falcone was the only reasonable way the writers could find for Bruce to come in contact with him so early in the story. But I digress. The true dark side of Harvey is brought to the surface through the Children of Arkham intervening in the mayoral debate. assassinating Mayor Hill and placing Harvey as the new head of state. Somehow. It's this incident, whether Harvey was physically scarred or not, that split something in him. Now faced with a larger threat to the system he controls, he first fought only to protect it. His retaliations against the revolutionaries grew more and more radical as he began to lose himself to his new personality and position. Two-Face was the result of an unraveling of Harvey's worldview, bolstered by the absolute power that was unexpectedly thrust upon him. Two-Face is a tyrant, enacting martial law, publicly scapegoating those who have wronged him, all to keep up a facade that he is strong, that everything is under control. I think the idea of these two villainous political factions in opposition to each other was an incredibly powerful way to explore one of the major themes at the heart of Season 1, institutions. It's not a new theme for a Batman story to explore, but never before has it been done like this, with Batman and the Wayne legacy smack dab in the middle. Of course, this episode features many twists and turns, either ending with the takedown of Penguin or Two-Face, but the thing that stands out to me is how well realized each villainous faction becomes, and the impact they have on Gotham at large, and also for Bruce Wayne personally. Now, dear viewer, we come to the finale. This is a mixed bag for me. There are a number of things in the final episode that just felt rushed. One of the biggest is how Bruce Wayne becomes CEO again. It's not even talked about. Just because Penguin got ousted, we're supposed to assume that the board, who just threw Bruce Wayne out no less than a week ago, reinstated him right away. He still went nuts and attacked the Penguin on live TV, and the circumstances around that never seemed to be explained to the public. An even greater tragedy, though, is how Two-Face was handled. Theoretically, Harvey may not even appear in your Episode 5 playthrough if you chose to confront him at the end of Episode 4. And if he does appear, his presence in Episode 5 feels ludicrous and out of nowhere. But worse than that, the fact that Lady Arkham or Penguin never had any interaction with the mayor, whose sole mission was to take them down, was pretty disappointing. I would have loved to explore what a confrontation between the heads of each faction would have looked like. But instead, Harvey's psychosis hones in on Bruce Wayne. In certain playthroughs, the man burns down Bruce's manor with his goons, and then returns to the scene of the crime days later, unprovoked, and just starts executing hostages until Bruce shows up. Bruce takes him down, and that's really that. It's an understatement to say that Two-Face was underserved by the finale. He was built up as a major obstacle to overcome, but was taken down like your run-of-the-mill loon with no gravitas or worthwhile impact. Then, there's the Lady Arkham of it all, who had nearly the exact same plan as Episode 5 Harvey. She shows up to Wayne Manor all the same, but only takes Alfred hostage trying to get to Bruce. I feel it's wasted potential that ultimately these main villains are both taken down because they wanted to kill Bruce Wayne, rather than moving forward with the villainous schemes they already have in motion. Harvey's takedown in the manor screams of a game without the time needed to explore his character fully, while Lady Arkham is much more forgivable, although the shallowness of her final plan raises the question, what took her so long? She could have broken into Bruce's manor any time. Why go missing for days, only to show up for a relatively low-stakes billionaire murder? But I can't really complain too much, because I feel that Lady Arkham put this whole episode on her back. The only good thing about the finale, which I think is the best thing about the whole season, is the reveal of why Vicky Vale is the way she is. Sure, she's Lady Arkham, she's out for justice for her family, but that's not what's really going on. She's a cracked mirror of Batman. Vicky was the victim of unspeakable abuse. Lady Arkham was her coping mechanism, a purpose that arose from her suffering. Look no further than the doll she had in the punishment room. I wish the game had really delved into that. I genuinely don't think this was about the deaths of her birth parents, which she couldn't have learned the circumstances of until well into her adolescence. That could have been the last straw though, the revelation that pushed her to finally act. But we never get the details. We never really get to know Lady Arkham, what her plan was after Bruce's death, or how she got mixed up with the Penguin. Nothing. And I think that's a shame, because she is one of the best anti-Batmen out there. I think episode 5 embodies my love-hate relationship with this game. It's got some really great ideas, but I don't think it develops them well. While I appreciated the final set piece in the catacombs of Arkham, everything leading up to it felt anticlimactic. There's no character who embodies this anticlimax and rush job more than Catwoman. There's seemingly a big moment in episode 3 when the player chooses whether or not to invite her to live in the manor for a while. What a big deal, ripe for all kinds of story potential. But the only time we see her in the manor is in episode 4, when she tells Bruce that she's leaving the manor. There's not even an instant where she interacts with Alfred. What a waste! Then, in the final episode, there's some forced half-revelation that Selina was playing Bruce the entire time. Or was she? Undercutting the relationship the player built with her without committing to that undercut. And finally, the game ends as anyone who has seen Batman Begins would suspect. A tease about the Joker for the sequel. It's like in its final episode, the game was yearning to snap back into the place where it began. A murky collage of other Batman stories you've seen before, rather than letting the events of this story spiral out to have long-lasting impacts. And so, that brings me to the question, why do I like Telltale Batman? Well, as I've described in nauseating detail, there's a lot to dislike. But I cannot deny that stuffed between all that, there's just too much I absolutely adore. Telltale presents Batman in an all-too-familiar light, then pulls the rug out from under us, breaking the idea of Batman, then crafts a story about rebuilding him, using player choice to establish who he is and what he's fighting for through two fantastic main villains. Things start off rough and fall a bit flat in the end, but it isn't truly the end. I look forward to continuing this journey with Season 2. Please God, let that hold up.